1, 2, 3, 4.
What's up, YouTube? Got another yo-yo review to do. This is the MagicYoyo M05 Magical. That's right, M05 Magical. So, this, I believe, is the first or second bimetal from MagicYoyo. It is sort of, it's designed by the same guy that designed the MagicYoyo M04 April. I think his name's Juliang. Juliang, I believe. Signed his name right there in the yo-yo. Very cool. But this is the M05 Magical. It's a bimetal yo-yo. Stainless steel ring clamped on the inside of the ring here, of the rim. And nice sort of V-shaped profile, but still kind of rounded off, kind of comfy. Let's get right into the specs here. So the diameter of this yo-yo is 57 millimeters. The width is 43.5 millimeters. The gap width is 5.44 millimeters, which is huge. Total weight, 65.78 grams. It comes with a center track bearing, which is awesome. Killer. Just like the, I believe the M04 also came with a center track bearing, which is just, MagicYoyo needs to do that. Center track bearing's best bearing shape. Either that or the flat bearing that comes in the 1-drops, but those are made for that. But otherwise, go with the center tracks. They're the way to go, for sure. Comes with the standard clear white pad, which we'll get into that shortly. And 6061 aluminum and the stainless steel ring. That's it. So, this is one of MagicYoyo's first attempts, MagicYoyo and Yo style, one of their first attempts at kind of going into the budget bimetal range. And these came in at about 50 bucks, which is pretty cheap for a bimetal, even by today's standards, but at the time, you know, hugely cheap for a bimetal. You couldn't really get bimetals, you know, at anywhere under $100. They didn't really exist. There were maybe 3, and this was one of them at the time. So, budget bimetal came out last year at some point, and I picked this up from my buddy Brett at Ohio State's. He had one he was selling. I was like, just bring it to Ohio. I'll give you the money for it. And he says, all right, great. So I did, and we did, and I've had it here with me ever since. It's pretty cool, so let's talk about it. So, lots of good about this yo-yo. Grind finish is really cool. Very nice, very matted. It's a good grind finish. Probably one of the better grind finishes that MagicYoyo has. So, definitely nice on this. Very different from pretty much everything that MagicYoyo was putting out at the time. Much better. Just better overall than everything MagicYoyo was putting out at the time. Still a very good finish even to this day. Probably about on par as I just reviewed the Katana. Probably it's not the same finish as the Katana, but it's about on par with how good that is for grinds. Pretty standard V-shape here with the ring on the inside. You can do thumb grinds, but I'm just warning you, I'm not going to do a thumb grind because thumb grinding on stainless steel rings gives me the heebie-jeebies. Makes me all... so I'm not going to do it. Sorry, just not going to do it. Flat cap in here, nothing to write home about really, just kind of a slides down into the flat cap here. Although apparently this has a very high-end laser engraving so that it's not supposed to mess up your finger spins. And honestly, I can't feel it. The laser, you know, you can usually feel laser engravings. I can't feel this one, but it's certainly there. See if the camera will pick it up. Yeah, it's certainly there. See it? But you can't feel it. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And yeah, you know, as far as all the specs and stuff are concerned, it's a pretty average-sized yo-yo. Nothing to really write home about on the shape. Look kind of like one of those Shingoku, like, kind of looks like a Sengoku, actually. There's a Sengoku yo-yo that kind of has the same sort of profile, same sort of cap. I've never played it, so I can't say if it's comparable or anything like that, but that just, you know, to my eyes, that's kind of what it looks like. You can tell me down in the comments if you know what I'm talking about, or you know you want to enlighten me upon that Sengoku yo-yo down in the comments. But yeah, as far as all the specs are concerned, pretty standard size. But as far like 65.7, getting close to 66 grams. For a bimetal particularly, I feel like that sort of wastes what a bimetal is, if that makes sense. Like a lot of monometals are 66 grams, you know? So to make a bimetal 66 grams, to me, is sort of a like, well, why, you know? I understand, you know, you want to pack rim weight on, and this is a good way to get more weight in the rims by just making it a bimetal and sticking a big stainless steel ring that you can add 16 grams to the rim, and you know, it'll make it feel like it's got a more powerful spin, and, you know, it'll just be more rim weighted. That's just how physics works. More weight in the rims, the faster it spins. But it's a little slippy. The pads are a little slippy. Even if you change the pads, I put a dragon string on here. The dragon strings that the Dragon String sent me seem to work the best on this yo-yo, which makes sense because he really likes his Magical. So the fact that he winds the strings to work really well with a Magical shouldn't be all that shocking because he posts with his all the time. So got a Dragon String on here. Seems to work the best on that. But otherwise, like if you're just using standard polys on this, it's really slippy. Like it's a really, really slippy yo-yo. Like even if you give it the bind a lot of tail, you'll still, and you just do a basic bind, sometimes it'll still just slip. And I think that's been sort of everybody's biggest complaint on this. But let's throw it around a little bit. I'll show what I'm talking about, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, we are back with the MagicYoyo M05 Magical. And, yeah. Overall, this thing is very stable. Spins a very long time. And, overall, really, just a pretty cool yo-yo. Very capable. That's probably the best word to use for this yo-yo. It is extremely capable. It's a very good all-arounder. And at only 50 bucks new, that's not too shabby for a yo-yo that performs as well as this one does. Kind of can handle whatever you want it to handle. It can go fast, but it doesn't need to. Like it's not like something you're chasing. It's very controllable. Yeah. As far as, you know, the binds are concerned, it's kind of slippy. Like I've got these kind of thick poly nylon strings on here, and these are really grippy strings in just about every other yo-yo, but they're just barely grippy enough for the Magical. So, you know, it's sort of like it almost slipped there. And I gave it a full bind and everything, and it almost slipped there. So, biggest complaint with these does seem to be that they're a little slippy, the yo-yo. And that tends to be what eventually turns people off to them. But, as far as the rest of it's concerned, grinds are great. This is a great grinding yo-yo. Very cool for the grinds. It can do thumb grinds. We're not going to do it, like I said. Kind of getting chills thinking about dragging my thumbnail across a stainless steel ring. So that might be a downside if you're into thumb grinds because it feels gross. At least it does to me. Finger spins. Very good. Except that I suck today. Give it one more shot, eh? There we go. Finger spins very well. That nice flat cap. Finger spins as well as any other cap. And the engraving, you really can't feel it when you finger spin. So that's really good. This one's got a ding in it, but it's still like, I mean, it's really smooth still. Like, I can feel the ding, but it's otherwise 9 out of 10 smooth. Like, really no vibe to speak of at all, which is really good for, you know, a budget bimetal. Usually these things are like, not that smooth. Like, you can definitely feel the vibe. But this one does not seem to care. Pretty stable as far as all that's concerned, but because it's a little, I don't know, the shape kind of throws me off a little bit because it's a little more narrow than I'm used to, but like everything else is pretty normal sized. and it's really heavy in the rims, so it's probably just me. I don't play this yo-yo that often, but when I do play it, I usually carry it out because it's kind of a nice budget metal to just take with you and go places with. Like, if you want a yo-yo that spins a long time and all that jazz, like, if you want to carry a bimetal, MagicYoyo bimetals are pretty good bimetals to carry because they don't cost that much. But yeah, you know, nothing super special to write home about. It's kind of a simple design, but very capable, and you could definitely have some fun with it. But it being a little slippy is sort of a like, definitely going to be one of the cons, is what I'm getting at. But let's go ahead and throw it on the desk, take it apart, I'll show you guys what the inside looks like, and we will do pros and cons. Hey, we're back on the desk with the M05 Magical from MagicYoyo. Alright, so let's pop this baby apart. Squeaks. You hear that? Yeah. So, kind of, you know, squeaks when you take it apart, but it's, you know, for budget, mass-produced metal yo-yos, that's not all that uncommon. It's not stripped or anything. The threads look pretty good in there. I put the yellow pads in because the yellow pads are a little more grippy than those white pads are, but that didn't seem to help it too terribly much. Helped a little bit. The dragon string helped the most, actually, with getting it to be more grippy. Otherwise, it's really, really slippy. Comes with a center track type bearing. Mine kind of sounds like it needs cleaned. It's kind of muggy today, though, so it might just be today. Actually, spinning all right now. So, comes with like a center track-esque bearing. Very cool. 8-ball. And as you can see, kind of a very basic shape. You know, some cuts up here by the rim. But, I mean, otherwise, more or less just sort of a V shape that kind of has this little step here. And, you know, nothing crazy. Very, very standard. No, you know, nothing to write home about. Same thing with the cup shape. See, it squeaks. You know, nothing crazy. Just kind of slides down into the cup, flat cup. You know, kind of just a good all-arounder. No gimmicks here. This is just, hey, you want a yo-yo that's stable and spins a long time? Well, this is it. So let's do pros and cons. Pros. Grind finish is great. One of MagicYoyo's best grind finishes, and pretty much just a really good... If this was like a standard grind finish on like every yo-yo, at least every mass-produced Chinese yo-yo, I would be very happy with that. This is a good finish. This is a really nice grind finish. It's like a little more, I don't want to say, like I said before, gritty's not the right word, but it's kind of like you can kind of feel the mattedness more than you can on, say, the CLYW stuff or the 2.6 stuff, which seems, you know, smoother. But as far as grind's concerned, the friction is very little friction. Very good matte finish, and it feels really nice. It feels very soft, which is good. I really like that. The laser engraving is a sort of a special one. Like I said before, you can't feel it. It feels just like the rest of the finish on the yo-yo, but it's there, and it's very tasteful. If you could barely see it with these like acid wash finishes, but it just says magical in there, and then MagicYoyo and Yo style, and then it's got the guy who designed its signature down there. But it's all very small, very tasteful, doesn't take over the yo-yo in any stretch of the imagination. So very cool there. The ring isn't just clipped onto the edge here like it is on the Stealth. It's actually down in the cup, which I prefer the rings to either be down in the cup out of the way if they're shiny polished rings like this. I feel like that gives you a little bit more control of the yo-yo. And also, if you're grinding or whatever, doing arm grinds, doing hand grinds, there's no ring to snag on your skin, like no polished steel ring to snag on your skin and like mess up your grind and kill your spin time. So I really like that. I think that's a good design element as well. And center track bearing. Can't say enough good things about MagicYoyos coming with center track bearings or center track-esque. They probably didn't pay the central bearing company for the bearing. They probably just made one. But it's very good. Flat cap, very good for finger spins, but it's not gimmicky, which is also a pro. And it's very stable, just good, easy control, fun yo-yo. Very cool. So let's do the cons. Cons are, I mean, the shape's a little boring. It's not my favorite yo-yo to pick up, and at $50, there's definitely yo-yos that are more fun. but probably not bimetals. So, you know, if you really, really, really want a bimetal, this is it. That being said, it also is kind of heavy for a bimetal at 66 grams. It kind of performs similarly to, you know, a really well-designed 66-gram monometal would. But, again, it's a budget bimetal, not a monometal, and if you really like the finishes, it comes in some cool finishes, and if you can grab one, because I don't think they're doing runs of these anymore. I think they're a pretty small run. If you can grab one off the BST for pretty cheap, which usually you can, it's a MagicYoyo, you know, 25, 30 bucks. I'd say that's definitely worth it, especially if you get a cool splash color or something, because it does perform really well. It's a really fun yo-yo to play with. That being said, you know, nothing super fancy about the design. You know, not going to write home about it. It's just kind of a V-shape, but it is what it is. No gimmicks either, which is cool. Probably the biggest con is just how wide that gap is and how slippy the yo-yo it is. If you put really thick strings on it, you're probably not going to have a big problem. Or if, like, you get some, like, kind of thicker nylon or something, those will probably work well in there, but those are sort of strings that aren't going to work very well in a lot of other yo-yos that have smaller gaps, so you'd almost have to use strings specific for this yo-yo to get it to, like, bind well and respond well. So, you know, that's a pretty big con for me, and I know that's probably been the biggest complaint that I've read about the M05 Magical, is that it's a little bit slippy, and, you know, maybe different pads would fix that. Maybe if you use like the really grippy, like the red pads, the red Yo-Yo Factory pads, or maybe the one-drop pads that fit in all the yo-yos, like that might fix it. These are still just the yellow MagicYoyo pads, which I know aren't known for their extra grippiness. But if you used extra grippy pads or maybe siliconed it with like the red RTV silicone or something, that might fix it as well. But out of the box, it's pretty slippy. And a lot of your binds that you could normally hit, you're just going to be like, Phoop, like, what happened? So there is that, and I do need to, like, make that very apparent because it can be a very frustrating thing, and can kind of, you know, turn you off to it as a new yo-yo, when otherwise it's got a lot of really good qualities, and especially used now, you can pick these up pretty cheap. So, yeah, but that's it, guys. That is my review of the M05 Magical. You know, pretty solid release. I know it's been out a little while, but at the time, definitely a really solid release for MagicYoyo. It was sort of one of their steps into the game of being a very legitimate, you know, major yo-yo company that sponsors major contests and puts out yo-yos that people are going to want to buy and use that are more than 10 or 15 bucks. So, definitely a cool addition to their lineup. It would be neat if they redesigned it a little bit and maybe fixed that slippiness. And, you know, maybe stuck it out again for 45 or 50 bucks again. I wouldn't mind seeing another run of it, because I think MagicYoyo otherwise did a pretty good job with it. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Still got a contest going on to give away a $25 Yo-Yo Best Buy gift certificate. So make sure you check that video out as well and enter that contest to win a $25 gift certificate. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers to you. And I'll see you next time.